We really are a little bit anxious, nervous, worried about today's video shoot. This freaks me out.
Scott, are you okay? Are you okay?
My name is Scott Mendenhall. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So glad you're hanging with us today.
My name is Lily Wiener, and you are in for a treat, as you can tell from that first shot.
Yeah.
What was that?
Lil,
What?
how do you feel in there?
I'm starting to try not to curse you.
We'll explain why we're in those hamster balls before long, but we work together and we're excited about a lot of things. We love Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We love ONEWHEELS, and we love riding our ONEWHEELS around Minneapolis, Minnesota, especially in the springtime.
Woo! Bring on the spring. That hamster ball, we're about 6 hours, almost 5.5 hours away from that event transpiring today. We're gonna talk about our feelings and all those emotions we have before that moment.
This is exciting.
Let's get after it here, all right? Let's do it. We really are a little bit anxious, nervous, worried about today's video shoot on that lake because there's a lot that could go wrong, and it's kind of scaring us a little bit. Do you remember the first time you rode your one wheel, that fear that you had? Like all one-wheelers must face. The first time you had to ride your one wheel, or you got to ride your one wheel, and how scary that was. Like, I remember the time I stepped on this. It was back in winter and I was super nervous. I really wanted to go by myself to ride my one wheel because of just the fear of crashing. It really robbed me of like the fun of a one wheel because I was like, I don't want to ride it. I'm comfortable on my boosted board. There's no way I want to ride that thing because of the fear, the anxiety that I had. It's much like the anxiety I have about riding in these hamster balls here in a couple of hours. It's like, there's a lot of risks. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, but it also could help illustrate the point. What do you do when you're anxious? And what are you missing out when you are? Right? You miss out on something. Well, I was just filming that last bit, talking about your first ride. Lily's all about, I gotta go to the bathroom, and...
This is called an Izzy. Sometimes when I get anxious about big life events, I stressy, so...
First ride on a one wheel?
Yeah, it was the worst.
How anxious were you about it?
Horribly anxious.
Why?
Devastatingly anxious. Because it was like, I had no idea what I was doing, it was icy, I was in like my snowboarding gear, and I'm not very coordinated like at all. So it was just a hot mess, but I stuck with it, you know?
For real, if you think about your first ride on your one wheel, if you would have let anxiety get you, think about what you would have been robbed of the joy of being a one-wheeler. Like, just getting around the city on a one wheel is so much better than any other device I've ever rode. And I've rode motorcycles and boosted boards. It's so much joy. So Lily, how anxious are you about today's endeavor?
I just have like no idea what we're doing, what to expect, and like what, I can't even picture where I'll be tonight at 8 o'clock. I want them to come back, is what I want. And the unknown of that really, like, it doesn't just stress me out, it just like allows me to get to a spot where I can like be robbed of the joy of this ice cream. Or I decide not to let it rob me. It's just hard.
ice cream, she gets robbed of the flavor and the enjoyment of it. But even Onewheels, we're using a random thing to really paint a picture, a point.
Yeah, and it is silly. It's Onewheels, it's ice cream, but in real life, in your life, and I know in my life, I know in close friends and family's lives, people deal with anxiety and people let it rob them.
Do you know what causes anxiety? Anxiety comes from the fear of the future that is yet to happen. It's the fear of what might happen. And we are so creative as people on telling ourselves a version of the story that always ends in tragedy. We're always playing the what if game. What happens if we drown today in that hamster ball? What happens if... And it's never a good story we tell ourselves, which then in turns make us anxious, which in turns destroys our body. The effects of anxiety in our lives is just catastrophic.
So Scott says that it's catastrophic when we allow ourselves to stay in what anxiety does to us. And I just thought to myself, I wonder what the internet, all things that you can find on the internet, I wonder what it says about anxiety and the effects of it. And so I Googled it, and it says anxiety can impact physical and mental health. There are short and long-term effects on both the mind and body. While many people know about the effects of anxiety on mental health, fewer people are aware of the physical side effects, which can include digestive issues, increased risk of infection.
We are not professionals. We are going to share with you what has worked for us and worked for thousands, maybe millions of people. That's our hope. We're not experts either at the Onewheel, to be honest with you. But our hopes is today is to... If you watch our videos, we always seem to be like in a great mood, and there's a reason for that.
I once felt I'm done with the defense. Drove back and climbed over your fence. Had to show you that I was a mess. So you were shrugging your shoulders. I'm closed off, that's what I told you. Soon enough, everything started to change. 'Cause there's no going back. No going back, there's no going back to your old life. Not living in the past, we're over that. I'm feeling it tonight, riding on the dizzying.
This is the last shot downtown before we get to the lake for the epicness of this video where we're trying to ride a hamster wheel in one of the lakes. Still nervous?
I'm really nervous. Nothing is making it any change. Like, I just need to get there.
The anxiety is a real thing right now. But if you are a Onewheel watching this and you come to the Twin Cities of Minnesota,
you have to come here to ride. It's beautiful. You're on the Mississippi River.
That is amazing.
Beautiful
that view right
of the
here,
city.
Stone Arch Bridge is the place to be. Made the long truck out to middle of nowhere to one of the 10,000 lakes of Minnesota, where the anxiety is all of a sudden real. The terrain is real. Riding a Onewheel on this terrain is real. Let's introduce the story that is a couple thousand years old.
It's a true story that was actually recorded by eyewitness accounts that specifically will come from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And these guys wrote this true story because they witnessed it happen. They witnessed the story about a man who was murdered on account of loving others. He was guilty for loving others.
So the man that Lily's talking about there, his name's Jesus. How can Jesus actually help me in my daily anxiety and depression? Like, that's not an immediate fix. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not exempt from anxiety. like we've created an event here on this lake that has made us pretty anxious, and I've lost some sleep over the thoughts, and some of you are going like, why are you doing this? So that we can create a moment of anxiety, because this is a fun anxiety. The anxiety is, where's the money coming from? How's that person gonna get healthy? How's my relationship gonna be restored? Those are not fun things that you videotape, but the anxiety that someone experiences about to get in a hamster ball is kind of laughable, right? But what we're speaking about Jesus on, he comes into your mess where you are and says, I understand, I was there once before. Let's get to the other side of the lake and see how we handle our anxiety. There's one thing you need to know, and I think Lily would be the best one to tell you the one thing that creates the most anxiety in this. What's the one thing that has you?
I run out of oxygen. Like there's no I just take up all that's in the ball, I guess.
Jordan, how much oxygen is in these Zorb balls? Just rough guesstimation.
You got 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So I'll set a timer for 10 minutes on my phone.
Well, it's a countdown, because if you start running in there, you're going to be breathing faster and faster and faster.
Lose more.
That's what creates real anxiety. 10 minutes to get across. I don't know how long this is, but it's a journey. You saw it in the drone shot. It's a hike. It's a walk across. It's something. A couple other things that are added to this is the water temperature is just over freezing. Ice came off maybe 6 days ago. So the idea of even if you fall in or your feet walk, it's gonna all be cold. These are the things that have added to our anxiety and our worry and our concerns is not can we do this? I think this is actually relatively easy to get across. I think it's the elements that have added things that are out of our control.
Last words.
How's the anxiety level?
It's getting higher.
Yeah, okay.
It's hot in here.
Good luck.
They're zipping me up. Oh, I don't like this already. No way. I already know. This is crazy. I still want water. I mean, I want to Oh, shit.
Lily's down.
Okay, he just fell, and I'm just gonna crawl. Like I said, I'm just gonna crawl. Not going far. Look, he's already. Oh, he looks awesome though. He's already struggling. Okay, I'm just gonna crawl. I'm just army crawling here.
We got it pretty far, actually. I'm beating Lily. Maybe crawling. Whew. Halfway. Keep going, Lil! You got this! I don't think we have this. Can't decide if I'm just tired or running out of there.
I want them to come back. Is what I want. This is much harder than you would think.
Wonder how Lily's doing.
Right now, it got quiet because there's no one around me. And I think that there are those moments, like in life, when it gets quiet and you feel like there's no one there and no one's there to help you, no one's listening, or you don't feel like you can talk, you don't feel like you can reach out. That's when it does get really hard and it gets scary. But I think in those moments is when you need to think past what you're feeling and think, okay, I'm not always going to be in this spot. I'm not always going to be here. And even that alone is comforting. But what I trust in is that it's Jesus. Jesus is the one who can get us out of any dark place. He himself got himself out of the darkest place, and he defeated death. And that is what we're talking about today, is that on Good Friday, he conquered death. He had to die so that we could experience life with him, but he conquered it. And in those moments where we're anxious and we're scared, I just remember, Jesus conquered this. Jesus already won this fight. Even now, I'm in the middle of a lake.
When we started with filming today, and you're gonna see these drone shots, I didn't know it was gonna be this hard. It seemed like a really good idea at the beginning, and now it's not a good idea. I see the ground. I see it.
Okay, we gotta get Scot out. For sure.
Yes, let me out. Oh man,
How you feel?
that was scarier than I thought. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we've made it to dry land and now we're collecting our thoughts. And again, we set up an illustration in condensed form to really have an example of what life is like. Like, you start out with great intentions, things go bad, and all of a sudden you're struck with anxiety, the fears of what could happen. And what do you do with those fears? How do you manage those things? I know for me that it's taken my mind off of my current situation, and I go to what Jesus did for me. He's 100% man and 100% God. Let's pretend you believe me on that. Like, there's no argument. Let's just pretend that you agree. And because he is 100% God and man, and he speaks into my life like, hey, cast your cares on me, then when I'm freaked out and my anxiety's at an all-time high, I don't need to be casting my cares to my best friend. I need to be talking to Jesus.
The reason that matters to me is because it allows me to put my hope in something greater than me trying to do life alone or put it into someone else. It always failed. It always failed me. And so when I learned that Jesus wanted more for me, he wanted to be my source of hope. And I put that into practice. I chose to believe, like Scott said, pretend you believe. I chose to believe, and that is when everything changed. Jesus talks about how he can give us life and life to the full, and Jesus has filled and overflowed my cup the moment I decided to say, okay, Jesus, I believe you. I'll give you a chance.
The whole thing that transpires on Good Friday, where Jesus is said guilty of a lot of wrong things and then crucified and killed, it's not done there. He comes back to life, and I think that's the game changer in all this. I'm not casting my care on somebody that's just like my best friend that is 100% just like me. I'm casting my cares on somebody that's been there, done that, and is a winner. He didn't stay dead. He came back to life, and the thing about that's like the game changer really for me is that there are eyewitness accounts that saw him walk around alive, and they saw the wounds and stuff. Just for a moment, pretend you agree with me. And because you agree with me, shouldn't that change where you put your trust when you're anxious? I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm not saying that you put your trust in Jesus and all of a sudden your anxiety is gone. See, that's called magic. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about putting your trust in someone that's been there, done that, that is alive, is not dead. That's why you see so much joy on this channel and excitement in our lives, is because we understand that we do not walk through life's tragic moments alone. And if anything we can get from the Good Friday service, and there's lots to pull from it, but if this is the only thing you're reminded, that Jesus came and said that he would give us life and life abundantly, doesn't mean that we would be exempt from pain and tragedy. Oftentimes, those are the things that God teaches us the most in. If that's where you find yourself, your life is filled with anxiety, you're struggling with a lot of things on the inside, and you just don't know where to go, maybe you spent some time before saying, Jesus, if you're real, take my depression from me. Take away the anxiety, my fears, my worries, and you still are left with those things. That's not proof that Jesus is not alive. It proves to us that Jesus' answers aren't always the answers that we're praying for, that he actually knows what's best for us, and sometimes that means walking through the pain of life with us. That said, if you're still hanging around on our YouTube channel, would you give us a thumbs up to the video? Would you copy paste the link and share it with somebody? And would you subscribe to the channel? We are putting out content weekly, telling the best stories we can to inspire you right where you are watching this. And I hope we did that today and had a little bit of fun. We always ask this question: what does love require you to do? Because love always requires something. To end it all, and then we'll come back later and say, but we're gonna jump in. It's gonna be a cold one. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!